Here we're going to finish lesson 2.1, activities and intents. If you remember where we were, we've created two activities and we have a button on the one activity and it sends and opens the second activity. But right now all we're doing is navigating between the two. The value of using an intent is that we can pass data between activities and applications. So to do that, let's set up the main activity for entering text. So let's go back to activity_main.xml and let's go to the design view. From here on the left, under the palette, we want to select text and we want to do what is called plain text. And if you click and drag that, and we want to set this up so that it's down at the bottom, and notice it because we have auto connect set up, it created a constraint on the bottom and the left, but we want to create a constraint here between the button and the text input. So what this does is now keeps this so it lines up properly. Depending on how wide the device is, it'll fill the space. For the attributes, let's switch over to the view fewer attributes. And here, let's give this an ID of edit text_main. We want the right margins to be 8 and the left margin to also be 8. And the bottom margin is 16, which is good. And then the layout width, we want this to match constraint because we want this to fill the available space. And then the layout height is wrap content. The input type is, let's change this to text. It's called text long message. So here we have text long message instead of text person name. Click OK. Finally, we want to add what is called a hint, where we give instructions for what they need to type. So we're going to type in, enter your message here. And then for the text, we want to delete any text that's already there. We don't need that. Okay, let's go to the text view, and for this, hold on, let's go back to design, text. For text view, let's delete this where it says Android text equals name. Let's delete that because we don't want anything there. But let's fix this, extract string resource, and then we're going to call this edit text_main. Choose OK. Let's go to the main activity.java class, and here we want to add an extra to our intent. An extras is a bundle, it's a key value pair. And so you can use this to add data that is passed from the intent from the one activity to the other activity. To create that, we want to create a constant, and we're going to call this public static final string, and it's called extra_message. And then it's going to equal, and we say this is the package name. So for our package name, it's com.tutorials.ibrent.com.2activities and then we say extra dot message, and then we close that and we use a semicolon. So this is going to be the message. This is our key, meaning when you have a key value pair, you have a key that's unique that is matched with the data, which is whatever you set it to be, but the key has to be unique. When we create a public static final string, this is, when we say public, this string is available to any activity in my app. Anybody in my Java package, all of the, if it says public, that means this other activity can identify it. We use this as a key because this is unique. Your package name for your app is always unique. That's why you use reverse domain, because no one else would have the same domain. Well, we're using this as a way to set this unique within our application. Now let's create a private variable to reference the edit text object so that we can get data from the edit text component. So we're going to say private edit text, which is the type of the component that we're using. So we'll select that one, and that imports it for us. And now we say message edit text. In order to get this connected, once we have the onCreate, that means all of the visual elements are available to us. Now we can start working in code to reference those visual components. We know they're available in memory, so we're going to say message edit text equals, and we're going to say find view by ID, and it's going to be r.id.edit text underscore main. And then we'll close that. Next, within our launch second activity, we can, I want to do this right after the log, before the intent, we can create a variable by saying string, and we're going to say message. The message is going to be whatever the text is within the edit text field. So we're going to say message edit text dot get text dot to string. Now that we have this string, we want to create the extras that goes for the extra, which is a bundle that goes with the intent. So after we've created our intent, let's go ahead and say intent dot put extra, and it takes a string, which is the ID, which is the key value, extra underscore message, which is the one we've created, and then the message, which is the actual text. So to review, we created a public static final string, which is called extra message, which is a unique value. ID is a unique name that we can reference later. We create a reference to the edit text, and then from there on the onCreate, we assign it, we instantiate this variable, and then when we click the launch second activity, we create the message, which is whatever text was in this edit text field, then we pass it in as an extra to the intent. All right, the next thing we need to do is do something with the intent and show it on the screen in the second activity. So let's go to the second activity underscore second.xml. Let's go to the design view, and from here we want to add a text view. And so go back to comment and we click text view, and we're going to place this under the message received text view, which is the header that we call our header text view. And from here we want to create a constraint from there to there, and from the right to the left, and sorry, right to right. I'm creating, so here we're setting up our text view. Let's change some of these attributes. So for this, the ID is going to be called text underscore message. The layout width and layout height is wrap content. The top margin is set to 8, the left margin is set to 8. And then we don't want any text here, so we're just going to delete that. We also want to change the text appearance, and so for this we're going to use the same, which was appcompat.medium. Go back to the text, and now we've got our text message with all of the setup here. Let's go to the second activity.java class, and from here we need to modify the text view for the message when this activity launches. To get the intent, we create a variable, and within the onCreate method we're going to say intent, and it's type intent, and then we're going to call it intent equals get intent. And this is a method that's available on the activity class that returns the intent if there's one available when the activity is created. From there, we want to get a string for that. And in order to get the string from the extras, we need to know what the key is for the message. Now remember, we created that public constant, so we can reference that by saying string message equals, and we're going to say intent dot get string extra, and the string name is main activity dot extra message. And so from there, it's going to pull the ID, which is the extra message ID, and it's going to get the string value and add it to the message. Next, to set the text on the text view for the message, we will get a reference to a text view, and we're just going to call this text view equals find view by ID, and it is r.id.text underscore message. And finally, we say text view dot set text and message. Let's run the app. And from here, we can enter text, say, hi, how's it going? And then click send. And check it out, message received. Hi, how's it going? Very good. Okay, let's go back, and now that we have sent data from one activity to the next, we want to send data back. So for this, we want to add a couple more objects to our activity underscore second.xml. Because we're going to use the same edit text and button that we did from the main activity, we could just go ahead and copy and paste these button objects. So go ahead and select, I'm in the activity underscore main.xml, I select the button and edit text, and then I copy that, and I go back to activity underscore second, and from here I give myself a little more space, and then I paste that. Now we need to change these, of course. We can't have the same names, otherwise it'll conflict. So for ID, we're going to say button underscore second. For the on click, we're going to change this to return reply. And for the text, we need to set this text, and it's going to be called reply. And from here, we're going to create a string resource, and we call this button underscore second. And finally, for the on click, we want to fix that by saying create return reply, and that fixes that. Let's go back to our activity underscore second. So now the button is taken care of. We need to fix the edit text so that it doesn't conflict. So for this ID, we're going to change this to edit text underscore second. Notice the constraint end to start of. Instead of button main, we want that to be button underscore second so that it lines up to the correct button. And then for the hint, we need to change this, and the hint text is called enter your reply here. And we can extract that as well and say extract string resource. We're going to call this edit text underscore second. Very good. Let's take a look at the design and make sure that those things line up. Notice the enter your reply here, reply, and we're in good shape. Go to the second activity.java class. And here, in order to handle the return data, so we're sending data back to the main activity, in order to handle this, to make it a unique ID so that the key, when you say give me the message or give me the content, we are referencing the key from the second activity. We need to create another public static constant. So we're going to say public static final string, and we're going to call this extra underscore reply equals, and again we're using our package name, which is com for mine is com.tutorials by ibrent.com.toActivities dot extra dot reply in caps. And again, you're going to use yours, whatever your package name is. Next, we need a variable for referencing the edit text like we did before, and we're going to call this private edit text, and it's called mReply. Within the onCreate, we need to set the mReply value, so we're going to say mReply equals find view by ID, which we've started to use. You use this a lot, you'll notice. Dot edit text second, and then close that. Next, in the return reply method, we're going to set up our intent to take us back. So let's get the message first. So we're going to say string reply equals mReply dot get text. Whoops, let's undo that. Get text dot toString. Then we create our intent, which is, we're going to call it reply intent equals new intent, and we're going to add the string, so we're going to say reply intent dot put extra, and it's the key is extra underscore reply, and then the message is reply. Okay. Next, instead of saying we're calling the intent and start activity, we're going to do something where we set the intent, and it's a method called set result, and we set it with a value, and the result code is result underscore OK, and then we pass in, we set the intent, which is the reply intent. So what this does is it's when an activity returns, there are messages that get sent. And the message that gets sent in this case is we're saying result OK, and we're setting data on that response. And in order to close this activity, instead of doing start activity, what we're going to do is call finish. And what that does is it closes the activity, and because we have a parent relationship, the application knows, oh, I'm going back to the parent. And as a result, that means that the activity is finished and it says result OK, and it's got data. Now we need a way to show the result of when we go back to the main activity. So we need to update our activity main.xml in order to have it. Notice we have a lot of space here and there's nothing going on. Well, we can use what we've done here with activity second, and I'll go to the text area and let's select these two text views. So go ahead and copy that. And go to the activity underscore main, go to the text view if it's not already there. And just for clarity, we're just going to put this at the top and then enter. Now we need to change these values so that it doesn't conflict. So the ID needs to be changed. So text header underscore reply, and the text is, let's set this. The text is going to be reply received. Oops, keep that. Okay, and then let's fix it. Extract the string resource, and we're going to call this text underscore header underscore reply, and click OK. Then in the second text view, we're going to change this ID to text message underscore reply. And notice the constraint, we want to change this. Instead here we're going to say constrain to text underscore header reply, which is that one. Okay, if we go to the design view, it should look good, and now we are ready to go. So it shows up here, but because when we start the app, the activity starts on this screen, we don't want to show both these text fields. We want to hide them. And to do that, we're going to use a property called visibility. Go to the text view of this XML, and for both of these text views, we're going to add a property at the end, and it's called visibility. And if I press tab, then we want to set this to invisible. And do the same here. We're going to say visibility and set it to invisible. Now notice we have invisible, gone, and visible. Gone means that it's no longer in the layout, but visible or invisible means it's still in the layout so that it looks right, but it may just be hidden. We want it hidden by saying invisible. When we look at the design view, notice now it's back to, visually, it's back to what we were expecting where those are hidden, but they do exist. Let's go to the main activity.java class, and we want another public constant to identify a key for a specific type of response. When you get a response back from an activity or an application, they can be of different types, and we've mentioned the result, and we mentioned different things. So here, what we're looking for, we want to check if there is a result and it's a specific result type. So let's create under here, under the, we're going to say public static final int, and it's an int and it's called text underscore request. And we're going to set it to 1. Then we're going to have a couple more variables, private variables, in order for us to reference the new text view. So we're going to say private, and it's a text view. Whoops, let me undo that. I meant to say text view, and now press tab. And it's going to be m reply header text view. And then we want another variable, private, and it's also of type text view, and it's called m reply text view. In the onCreate method, we're going to reference these. First, let's just go ahead and set them up. So we say m reply header text view equals find view by ID, and this one is r.id dot text underscore header, and remember it's this one. And then the other one, m reply text view equals find view by ID, r.id dot text underscore message reply. Okay. In our launch second activity method, we need to change the start activity from start activity to start activity for result. And what that means is it's setting up the response and the call to launch the second activity saying, we expect a result. So in order for that to happen, we say start activity for result, and we pass in the intent, but then we also pass in the request. This is the text request ID. To get the result, we're going to override a method called onActivityResult. So we start with the @ sign, and the keyword is override. And then the method is public void onActivityResult, and it takes an int of request code and an int of result code, and then an intent object, which we'll call data. And inside this method, we need to, because we're overriding it, we're going to call super, which means we're going to call the method that we override. We say super dot on activity result, and we pass in, we say request code, result code, and data. So we make sure that the default things of this method get called, and now we're doing extra stuff in addition to that. Here we're saying that if we get a text request and it's of a certain value, then we want to check for the result. So we're saying if request code equals text underscore request, oops, then inside there we check for result code. So we say if result code is equal to result underscore OK, we will take the data, so we're going to say string reply equals data dot get string extra, and remember we need to know what that key is because we have a key value pair, and the key is based on the second activity dot extra reply. Next, we need to set the visibility of our text views, so we say mReply header text view dot set visibility, and we're going to use a constant called on the view class dot view dot visible. Then on the text view for the message, we're going to set the text, so we say mReply text view dot set text, and which is reply, and then we set the visibility for that as well. Reply text view dot set visibility view, sorry I keep adding too many characters, view dot visible. So to review what's happening, we have created an override on the activity result method. Remember, when you have a result, we want to check to see if the result matches something we expect. And so we're saying the request code is a unique value. And the value is, we're saying the text request. And then the result code is a constant that is used by all activities, and it's either okay, canceled, or other types. So when we get that result code, then we know, okay, this is what we want, and we want to then set the data, and we grab the data from the result, the intent extra, we're using the key, and then we turn on the visibility of the two header and the text view. All right, let's go ahead and run this. Here we have our opening activity, and we say, how are you? Question mark, and we click send. And then there's a message received. How are you? And now, I'm going to do my reply. I am fine. Click reply. Really complicated stuff. Notice, and now it says reply received. I am fine. Awesome. Very good. So I'm just going to stop this, take a look at it. We have used we changed our start activity for result, and we pass in this request code, which is a unique value. The reason we do that is that if I open an intent and I launch an activity, I want to know which activity is coming back. And because I launched it with this unique code, which is just a number, I know that, oh, this is the one that I'm expecting, because I could launch other activities and I could use a different constant that could make it easier, so that I could say, oh, this is they're returning from entering a text message, or they're returning from entering an image, or whatever, and then we can process it accordingly. So that's how that gets used. I hope this was helpful. So be sure to subscribe and look for the next video in this series.